There's a kind of positivity that's basically emotional traffic control. Keep it moving, don't make it messy, smile anyway, all the way. But when you talk about real optimism, it's not a vibe, it's a practice. It's what you do when the room is tense, the work is hard, and you still choose to show up with integrity. Today, we are really talking about that kind of positivity that doesn't bypass pain, but it does builds trust through it. Welcome back to another episode of Healthy Mind, Healthy Life, the space where we talk about mental wellness in a way that's really practical and human. My name is Sayan, as some of you would know, and today I'm joined by Stephen Minix, an impact strategist and former educator who spent years working at the intersection of community, nonprofits, philanthropy, and the stories that we tell about change. So, I invite you all to join me on this conversation where we would be exploring what it really means to unlearn, smile through it, positivity, and replace it with something more realistic around optimism. So, if you've ever felt the pressure to stay positive, guys, this one's definitely for you. So, welcome to the show, Stephen. It's a pleasure to have you here with me, and I'm excited to see where this flows.
Likewise, a pleasure to be here. It's always about the conversations, so I'm excited to be able to share.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Stephen, for your kind words. And before we get into the deeper stuff and the philosophy in general about optimism and life, when you hear the word positivity, what's the first honest reaction in your body right now? How is that different from who you were 10 years ago, say?
Whenever I hear the word positivity, I think possible. To me, positivity and possibility are intimately related. And so, has that changed over time? No, I've always been an optimist. I've always been positive. Um, darkness in my life taught me that positivity is the route to possibility, and if you can think that way, you can convince yourself to get through the tribulation of life that it is. So I've always used that as a trick to navigate life.
Absolutely. But so how do you seek positivity, and if I talk about positivity, and I love your naming it as really the mental here, right? Not a slogan. So you've said that you've unlearned or you've had to unlearn the idea that positivity means smiling through chaos all the time, but I'm curious as to what's the most common misconception that you would want people to, I mean, debunk that misconception about positivity in general, and especially in mission driven spaces where everyone's supposed to be helpful.
Yeah, it's a mindset. It's a mindset. That's it. That's it. Right. So if you think self fulfilling prophecy is real, you tell yourself you can do something, you're more likely to be able to than if you tell yourself you're not. So for me, it starts there. The unlearning of smiling through the pain has to do with me of like, I choose to smile because I like to smile. It makes me feel good. Doesn't mean I smile oblivious to what's going on in the world, right? I'm not going to smile at your funeral. I'm probably going to be a little bit more in tune with what's going on. But to me, when you smile, you give people permission to see your mindset. You're thinking about stuff being better, the way things can happen, versus when you look at people with a stern scowl, you also communicate something. I heard years ago, oftentimes, that people think that people who smile too much are toxically positive. And that stuck with me very much because no. That is such to me, a lazy way of looking at the skill of positivity, which is I may smile to navigate through pain. You may smile to show you want to connect. But the point is, if you don't internalize what you're doing and why you're doing it as it relates to smiling and positivity, then you're just performing. And I'm not an actor. I don't need to perform. I need to be. And there's a difference between performing and being. And I'm a human being, right? I think that's the way I use this concept.
You nailed it, and that's really puts the conversation really into perspective, right? In the first few minutes, and yeah, like you said, being positive can become a performance, like it does for so many of us, until we later realize that you don't really need to be a performer, because you need to internalize, like you said, right? It's a very very important word here for me and a concept as well, because I think it really creates a discipline within you. So let's talk about that. Where do you think this smile through it culture really comes from, Stephen? Why is that we are taught about it from our childhood? Is it fear or image management, survival, something that we take along our own life journey, or something deeper about how power really works in the rooms that you have been in?
Yeah. Look, I think, I think a lot of people aren't confident in who they are and what they bring to the world. I had parents that taught me that I was valuable. Period. Not valuable because of what I do, not valuable because of what I say, but I'm valuable. And if you start with the concept of I am valuable, I have value, then any room I go into, I feel confident that I can contribute. A lot of folks, I think, struggle with imposter syndrome. And so they perform to be in a room and feel confident. And to me, that doesn't help you do anything. It's kind of like lying to yourself. Be you at every book you're in. And to do that, you have to best understand who you are, what you're about, what are your values, what are your principles. And it's not some big existential thing. It's just like, what are you going to stand on? What are you about? And then when you come in proximity to somebody else, you have to give space to learn about them, what they're about, and what they think about. And if you do that, you can get closer to a conversation. Everything is either individual or group. Everything in this world, either by yourself or you're with someone else or a bunch of people. To me, the power of positivity and mindset makes whether you're by yourself or whether you're in group, whatever you're about to do, more likely to occur. That's the key. Now, do I think it's taught? Look, I think a lot of people teach things and learn things just because of conformity or just because of ease or like, you're a child, sit here.
Yeah.
I've never really subscribed to that. Be respectful, know your place, but also be comfortable about what places you want to go into. And you can do that better if you're thinking about it in a way that says, I want to learn this. I'm going to try. I'm going to give it a chance. But I think that's kind of an important thing to think about when you think about the mindset.
Absolutely, and I love the energy that you're bringing into this conversation already, Stephen. Because I think staying hopeful without becoming naive to some extent, and staying honest without becoming hard, that's a real tension, I would say. Which brings us to community in general. Because I think when you talk about optimism, it isn't always an individualistic trait. Sometimes I think it can be borrowed as well, like you said, right? It's about what is that you are perceiving from others. And you bring what you call the PE teacher, basketball coach, and dad energy into rooms. Steve, yeah. So, I mean, what does that actually look like in real time when things are messy? When trust is low, perhaps, when people are guarded, you're not getting the same energy or vibe from that other person that you're communicating. I mean, how is that you uh, adjust, or do you?
Yeah, I'll give you a very real example. Tuesday, a couple days ago, I hosted a large event at Los Angeles Dodger Stadium, one of the biggest stadiums and iconic buildings. We had nonprofit leaders and and funders in the same room. Power dynamic, 150 people, tension. All it what it is. We're here to talk, folks. We're here to share. But you need them and they need you. And I'm teaching you how to play nice in the sandbox. That's PE feature energy. That's a coach energy. I don't care about your title. I don't care about your logo. I care about you and what you do and what you think. And so do they. And what happens if we come together in this space right now and actually listen to each other and actually share what we're worried about and actually share a meal? It's human. But when I say bring dad energy, bring PE teacher energy, that's what it's about. I think far too often people have like over-engineered things and make them more difficult. I don't care what it is you're trying to do. If you don't talk to somebody about it, clear, concise, so that they can understand it, they're not able to help you if they don't understand it. But what's the best way to understand each other? Build a relationship. And to me, there's nothing of value comes out of everything of value comes out of relationships, right? You might get fun because of the relationship you created. You might have more opportunity because of the business relationship. You might have more depth conversation with your mother because of the relationship. But if the relationship is fractured, nothing is possible. And the way do you lean into a relationship? Honesty, candor, charisma, authenticity, listening. These are all recipes for clarity and relationship. Yeah. And I think those are important things, whether I'm talking about financial technology or I'm talking about data long term, whether I'm talking about building a deck, doesn't matter. But we got to have our head and our heart aligned with the people that we're talking to.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way you're, framing it, it's becoming more and more clearer. Sorry, that how you actually, I would say, perceive optimism, and you also want to spread that word to so many of us listening to this right now. So, Stephen, somebody asked me, and to be more specific, my colleague asked me, it was last year that, what's one regret that you have in your life? And I'm like, no, I don't have any regret because for example, if I went like, there's this one event or place that I wish I weren't in, in that point. But if you think about it from this perspective, that if you wouldn't be there at that point, you wouldn't be there where I was at that point, right, in my office, right? Because who knew, I might have been in a worse place. Yeah, there's a possibility that you might have been in a better place, but so is an equal possibility that you might have been in a worse place as well. So that's how I think I approach optimism in my life. So if someone is listening to this, trying to lead, maybe they're a manager, a founder, a parent, a community builder, what's one grounded practice for building trust day in, day out? Not a big speech thing, just a daily thing.
Yeah, it's funny you say regret. I also don't think too often about regret. I think about opportunity you have in front of you. But the nugget I would give, look, what do you want? What do you want? And then take a second to think about empathy. What do they want? And if you take as much time to think about what the other person wants as what you want to accomplish in a conversation, you're probably going to have a better trust-based conversation. So if you only think about your objectives and you never think about the other person's objectives, interests, concerns, worries,
It's never gonna work out.
it's never going to work out. So you have to empathize. You started this conversation today. We were talking about our time zones.
Yeah.
I see you moving like this. It's 2 a.m. You're probably tired. I get it. For me, it's 1 o'clock. It's the middle of my day.
Yeah.
Excited, right? But I can't beat you up with, I'm excited and you're sleepy. I got to just better understand where we are together, because that'll help me better appreciate you, but also make you feel seen and valued, because I damn sure expect to be seen and valued. And I'm not talking about value for money. I'm talking about you and I agreeing to share time together right now. That's a transaction. We've agreed to do that, but we're doing it because we wanted to. And then if you want to, then it matters that you listen to the person. But me, that's the key. Empathize with the person that you're talking to so that you can better connect with them, not just wait for them to stop talking so you can say more.
Yeah, that's the key beat, Stephen, right? Empathy, like you said. I think it really makes so it's again, if I zoom out the picture, it becomes about the relationship, right? As you talked about, Stephen. And yeah, once you have the relationship with that person or the colleague or the founders or whatever it is that you're trying to connect to, I think deals would flow in. Or if it's I mean, a friend or a business partner, things would start falling into place. So when you talk about relationships, there's empathy. But Stephen, for the person who is listening to this right now, who feels like they're feeling because they just can't stay upbeat, and this is not from a, I would say, getting to know the other person or empathize with them kind of from that perspective, but it in general, right? Who's carrying chaos and trying to look okay day in, day out. What would you want them to say to them, without being too much, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, I started with, what do you want? Like, what do you like? What like You can't do everything. Sorry. That's why I said the dad part. I got to talk to my 3 daughters every day about what we can do and what we can't do, and what do we want to do and what do we need to do. Right. And so you kind of have to think about those things. You have limitations, but you also have interest in what you want to do. Well, how do you marry those things so they're realistic? I want to be an astronaut. Okay, cool. Are you, do you know where NASA is? Do you Google, like make it practical? I just think so many people make things so bigger. Want to be a lawyer? Okay. What law school? Just start the conversation instead of, but you're only 8 years old or you're only 24. What the hell? Like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Tap into their inner interest. For me as a teacher, I've always believed in ownership. So if someone tells you, I don't know what to do, I'm confused about how I should do blank, blank, blank. Okay, well, what do you want to do? I don't know. Well, okay, well, let's think about, what do you like to do? Oh, what do I like to do? Okay, great. So you find a way to get people into their zone of where they can move. And then, okay, great. You got some things you like. What are you willing to work for? That's the
I love that.
whole breakdown versus, well, you're not, Sayan, you're not a lawyer today. You got to go to law school and you got to do, and you got to, no, don't make it bigger. Make it possible. Help them break it down into a way that says, oh, okay, I can do that. Exactly. Call me back once you do that, and then we'll talk more. And make it incrementally possible. There's a simple metaphor. I want to flood my bathroom. I can turn my bathtub on, my faucet, and stop the drain. I can turn it on a little bit of water. If I wake up in the morning, I'll have a flood in my bath. But if I
love it.
I watch each drop, it doesn't feel like it's moving. But if I step away, it's slowly moving. When you plant those seeds in someone's head, it slowly moves and eventually catches on. I think those are the things that you really try to focus on. Like, you don't need another executive coach. You don't need another philosophical approach or a framework. You need to stop, think, what do you want? What do you want to work for? Who are you going to talk to about it? Those are easy things. They don't cost a lot of money. Zero. You just take your time.
Yeah, and Stephen, I really love, how easily you are able to connect, with me on a personal level. And I mean, I get it now why you bring or how you bring that kind of energy into different kind of rooms. So, I mean, it's been a pleasure to, hear your perspective and the analogies that you brought to the conversation as well. But just before we wrap off, would quickly love to ask if people connected with your message, which I'm sure they did, and want to follow your work, where do you want them to redirect to, and what's the best way to for them to stay in your world?
Oh, for sure. Thank you. Yeah. Follow our work at UpMetrics, upmetrics.com. Pretty straightforward. But me specifically and the work that I'm pushing out there, LinkedIn is the best way to get a hold of me. So if you just type in my name, Stephen, last name Minix, Minix, I'm probably the only one that popped up. You'll see my big old face. I follow back, I engage, but that's a great way to get a pulse on what I'm trying to do. And if I can be at the core, let me know, man. I'm into putting good in the world. That's what I believe in.
That's fantastic, Stephen. Would definitely include your LinkedIn and your website in the show details, so that everyone could easily find you at. And yeah, for the listeners who are listening to this right now, I believe today's conversation did indeed make you unlearn some aspect of how you saw optimism before this conversation. So, if there's anything that I want you to walk away from this conversation, folks, is this: I think real optimism isn't pretending the storm isn't there, right? It's choosing those small steps that build trust and change the room anyway, because that's what you either. I mean, that's what you love either way. So that's the kind of energy that I want you to bring as well when you think about optimism. And yeah, with that, we come to an end to today's conversation with Stephen Minix. So Stephen, thank you so much for bringing this kind of amazing clarity and honesty into the mix. So if this conversation hit something tender in you, just do take a breath with me. Like I always say, you can always find yourself in those micro moments, and you don't owe anyone a smile while you're healing. I think you owe yourself honesty, support, and a pace that you can sustain. So if you want more conversations like this, practical, human, and grounded, do follow Healthy Mind, Healthy Life, because we are on a mission to build a space where mental health isn't treated like a luxury, but it's accessible and the ultimate foundation that it could be. Until next time, this has been Sayan. Be gentle with yourself and keep doing the work that helps you come home to yourself.